we are ready to be going. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Carrie Lawson. I'm the Activities Director here at Kansas City High School. And we are going to open up tonight, me maybe being the first person to actually introduce Chris Sander as Principal Chris Sander for a few words.
I did tell Coach Lawson that my introduction will probably be longer than my speech, but maybe not. All right, I do remember being here summer of 2019 with my daughter Sophia and thinking after 8 years, this will be the last time I have to get to attend one of these activity code meetings. What's 15 or 16 more? All joking aside, I couldn't be more excited to be here in this role to speak to our students and parents. Here at Kansas City High School, we pride ourselves on allowing students to excel academically, artistically, athletically, and socially. It is a privilege for Kansas City High School students to participate in activities and athletics, and in doing so, they represent both Kansas City High School and themselves. It is my expectation that each and every student will represent our school and themselves with integrity and pride in the classroom, on the court, on the field, on the mat, on the track, in the arena, during contests, shows, or on the stage. When I coached, I always reminded kids that the big CC on their uniform represented Cuba City, but also that every time they looked at those letters, to remember that they needed to compete with class. Thank you. Let's have a great year.
All right, for those of you that did not get a chance, if you were going to turn in anything to Pam or Julie or pay some fees, you're welcome to do that when we're finished here tonight. Otherwise, you can get that to the office. The main thing tonight is that you all are signed in before you leave. So I know we have a couple additional meetings after this for football and volleyball, but please make sure you did not sign in, that's athletes and parents, that you do sign in before you take off tonight. All right, I get to be your host for the remainder of this festive occasion, and this morning when I got up, I thought, wow, it's chilly up there, we may have to turn the heat on in the gym. I was wrong, but it's not bad. All right, so our agenda tonight. We are going to take care of the things that a lot of you already did with office staff, with fees, forms, and questions. We're going to go over some points of emphasis in the student handbook and the code of conduct, which is why we're here. We're going to hear from our athletic trainer, Michelle Wooden. We are going to hear from our Booster Club president, Scott Wright, and I will introduce the coaches that are in attendance tonight, the head coaches, and we will talk about some specific things that are coming up. Please, anytime you have questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, you can always reach me here at school or through an email on anything that seems a little cloudy. Let's take a look back to 21-22, a solid year. We crowned 5 SWAL conference champions at Kansas City last year. We had 1 individual state champion and 1 team state title. I think Kansas City, everybody's been having to figure out ways to rebound through the pandemic. I think last year we nailed it. And moving forward, of course, into 22-23. New news in the facility area, everything's nice and clean, except for that way because they're still working. The floor has been waxed and it is nice and sticky and fun. We are getting an outdoor huddle camera installed for our outdoor activities, primarily football, but the camera would be out there for anything else that would take place. I believe we're getting some new football lights coming soon. Maybe. I'm just glad the lights work. I'm happy. I don't even care if they're full, but we just want lights. And the Booster Club will also share some other things that have been going on and that they are involved with. So, looking ahead, and this is looking ahead as athletes, spectators, and parents. What will 2022-23 look like? That really depends on all of us sitting here and who will watch this video at a later time. Mr. Sander, I thought did a great job kind of nailing some of the bullet points of what is the expectation of being a student athlete or a fan in our school district. Participation is a big one. That's the toughest part for a lot of schools, is getting people to participate. It is not a problem for us. Our numbers have been extremely impressive. We bounced back from the COVID 2020-21 when numbers may have been down for lots of different reasons. And we plan to keep our student athletes involved as much as possible in both activities and athletics. Character. How are we perceived is a question that I think we all have to ask ourselves. On the court, in the stands, in the classroom, out in the public. We may say we don't care what people think about us, but true character is displayed at all times, whether we're winning or we're losing. And that's by athletes, coaches, and parents. We expect all those involved to be supportive and positive at all times. Coaches will coach their players and not comment on others. Players will play with their teammates and compete against opponents. Officials will officiate, and we will accept the right call and sometimes the not so right call. Parents and other spectators will remain positive, or they should remain quiet. Athletes, as you sit here today, you're going to fall into one of four categories. The class of 2026. Who would that be? If you don't know, and you're going to be a freshman, you will graduate, or you should, in 2026. This is a new start for you. You may be feeling anxious of the unknown, as well as excited, maybe a little nervous. How you start is very important. You're supposed to feel that way. If you don't feel that way, you need to wake up. It's exciting to be here. High school goes super fast, but there's a lot of opportunities for you here. Get involved in everything you can fit into your schedule. Don't say no to something because you're afraid. Go out and try it. And get as much experience as you can being a teammate and a classmate. The class of 2025, sophomores. You remember what it felt like last year at this time. Probably the same way as many of the freshmen do right now. You got a year under your belt, so I'm sure you feel like you know it all. Come in and be a leader. Help out the AK freshmen. You were that freshman last year. Let them know what they need to do when they are having a problem with something. Build up what you started as a freshman and take off with that this year. Juniors, 2024. Your season, you're upperclassmen now. You know the expectations, you know the commitment that's needed to be successful. You've also probably figured out what is your goal. Some of you may have withdrawn from some activities or sports because you just didn't feel like it fit you anymore. That's okay. Maybe you tried something new. But if you have a role you're giving to your team or to your program, this is so important. When you're there for the we and not the me, everyone wins. And then there's the class of 2023. Any seniors here today? Everybody was on vacation at 8 o'clock this morning. I'm not going to be there. You're more than ready to be here. This is what you waited for. As a senior, there's a bit more sense of urgency, whether you play one sport or three. Leave it out there. Bring all that you can to the program and all those that are in your program along for the ride. You are the leaders. You're leading the legacy. We count on your passion and leadership to keep the city on top. So to all classes, we don't start today, but we really have to be thinking about starting today and what that's going to bring to our program here and continue what we do and continue our traditions. In order to accomplish all of those components that I just mentioned, athletes have to be student athletes. So the next items of emphasis are important to be able to be an athlete and to maintain being an athlete. So forms and fees. In order to take part, whether it's next week because football starts, in 2 or 3 weeks with volleyball, cross-country, golf, or any activities this year at Cuba City, these things have to take place prior to the first day of practice. And we prefer before the first day. Physical or alternate form. All right? These have to be taken care of prior to practice. You either need a physical, which is every other year, and is it still usually freshmen and juniors, Pam, Julie? And then the alternate part year is sophomores and seniors. Some people are on a different schedule, but they are absolute musts. Your athletic participation fee that you pay for each sport you take part in. The $50 for the first, $25 for the second, and $15 that needs to be paid. This year, there will be a charge for breakfast and lunch, which has been a change from last year. Every family should have received a mailing on the free reduced meal application. It is encouraged that everyone completes this, and if you qualify and you sign the last page, your fees may be waived. The online forms, which I think a lot of people have already looked at, emergency contacts, health information, emergency permission, the signature form, and demographics are all in PowerSchool and all must be taken care of also. And it's a good idea to complete all forms at the same time, as well as put money in that lunch account so that you're not hungry in a few weeks. We don't like hungry high school students. They're not fun. FYI, if you're coming to the office to pay any of these fees this week, the office is going to be closed Wednesday through Friday this week. All right, so you have tomorrow, and you have next Monday if you're a football player, because next Tuesday, I believe, is day one, coach? Yep. All right, so those are the important things so you can get started. The following things are what may get in the way if we let things get in the way, and then we struggle to experience the positives of what athletics have to offer. So these fall under the code of conduct, which is really why most schools have these meetings, to just verify that people understand the importance of this and there's no gray area. And the expectation is that you look through the entire code as a part of the handbook, and if you have questions, you ask. Academic eligibility. Student athletes must pass all classes each quarter. At the conclusion of each quarter, grades are submitted. If a student has one or more Fs, they are deemed academically ineligible at that time. At the mid-quarter, there will be a grade check on any student who has received an F in the previous quarter. If at that time they are passing all classes, they again are considered eligible. During that time, the expectation is that they attend all practices and contests. They are not allowed to play. A fourth quarter situation is a little different with the timeline. So if a student has F this past fourth quarter in June, all right, and the fall sports happens here before school starts, that mid-quarter isn't really fair. So we don't use the mid-quarter grade check. We use a 21-day in the first contest. And that's all figured out, and the coaches are well aware of when that timeline is. At that point, since the student has been in school, hopefully for a few weeks, there will be a grade check at that time. As long as, again, all classes are passing, they're passing all of them, they will become eligible. Kind of a simple thought here is being that it's July 25th, and everybody has May right now, you don't even know what classes you probably have. Start strong, stay strong, and finish strong in the classroom. And strong for you, maybe not the same as the person next to you. All right, everybody's got different abilities and everybody gives different effort. But if you want to take part in activities and athletics, you need to make sure, again, at least by the quarter grade, that you have decent grades and no F's on that report. Here's a few other things. Substance use. You still cannot use drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or vape, including performance-enhancing substances. And now we kind of giggle at that, like, who does that? We don't know. But guess what? There's no room for it, and it's not going to happen, and you're not going to be on a team if it does happen and it's reported. All right, that includes, any situations that get reported to us from the local authorities, if you're involved in illegal activity, theft, vandalism, assault, weapons, etc. These are all things that not only affect you in athletics, but probably in life for a lot of reasons. This next one is a big one. Academic dishonesty. This is also in the appendix of your handbook. That is essentially cheating in or outside of class on a quiz, test, homework, and this also includes plagiarism, words that are not yours that you're using in writing. You need to really look at this closely. We've had a lot of situations since I have taken over this role. Most of my code violations come to this category, and most of it's plagiarism. And I'll be honest with you, if they had the checks that you can go through when I was talking in high school, I probably would have been in trouble. All right, but now we've learned how to write with our own words and not take something and copy and paste and make it your own. Super important because it's an offense. The first offense of any type of academic dishonesty results in a consequence that's determined by me. That's activities and athletics, and it affects both. So it's a loss of participation in both of those. It's usually short term because it's the first offense, and we reteach the fact that, hey, this can't happen, and we try to move on as quickly as possible. However, if there's a second or third offense under that same heading, the participation time is longer in duration, and eventually potentially suspension from the team. Standards of behavior at school, or just in general. For getting kicked out of class, inappropriate language, being disrespectful, anything that would happen that would be considered inappropriate while at school. That again will turn into a situation of the code violations. The chain of command does not really fall under a violation of the code, but the chain of command is what most schools, and we've had ours in place for quite a long time, is to make sure that we have an understanding that when things are not perfect in our world of participation, that we follow what the order should be in order to get to either the bottom or conclusion of what the situation may have started at. And that is talking about when an athlete or a parent or guardian does not see things maybe the same way as the coaching staff does, and what happens next. The chain of command has been set up so that we can have conversations that hopefully get to the point, but at the same time they don't overdo anything. They don't involve things that don't need to be involved. So the athletic department set this protocol, and it is expected to be followed by everyone. Issues that may lead to a conversation with the coach and administration. So whether the athlete doesn't feel like they're getting a fair shake, or anything that would fall under, we're not going to talk silly things like, why didn't you get the right uniform number? That's not something we're going to have a discussion with. The right size uniform, we might have to. All right, but the athlete and coach have to have a conversation. All right, in high school, you have to advocate for yourself. You need to come up to your coach, they're all approachable, and say, hey, I'd like to talk about this at the appropriate time. Have a conversation. And they end it right there. If it doesn't end there and the athlete goes home, the parents are concerned that there needs to be more discussion and dialogue. The athlete, the coach, and the parent should meet. They can meet at school, they can pick a time to meet and have a conversation. Again, usually this gets to the bottom of the situation that's going on. And if it happens to be something that's going on that the coach isn't aware of, that also brings that attention and that incident up at that time. If again it does not take care of it, the athlete, coach, parent, and potentially administration, whether that is me or other administration at Kansas City High School, we all meet together. And if and when it would go farther than that, it would include the Board of Education. And this is usually a situation that has not taken place, to my knowledge, in a long time. This has become the expectation in most schools, but the only way it works, and it will work, and it has worked, is if everybody respects it. Which means even though you're really super mad because, my kid did not get in last night in the volleyball match, you can't come down and talk to that volleyball coach that night and share your feelings. You need to chill, you need to let your son or daughter, I guess it was your daughter, maybe someday we'll have this on, and let them ask the questions. And give yourself a chance to take a breather. Please respect that chain of command, because like I said, I hear horror stories from some of my other coaching colleagues that things just get out of control really fast, and it doesn't have to be that way. Keep the lines of communication open, and usually, not that everything's going to be rainbows and sunshine at the end, but it certainly will be more clear. And if there's clarity, usually we can move forward. Some of the miscellaneous items. Attendance. Yes, you have to come to school to be able to participate in activities. You need to be on time. So our attendance policy states that in order to participate in practice and or a contest, students must be present for 4 class periods within the school day. 4 class periods. So if a student comes in late to school and they come in at the end of fourth hour and before fifth hour, they're good. We've had some situations before, though, where students come in late and they're tardy to fifth hour. That is an unexcused absence. They are not eligible to participate or practice, which could be a big deal. You probably didn't need to be late, but again, just so everybody's clear that you need to be at school for those 4 hours. Obviously, when there's things that are going on that are considered excused through the office for an appointment and other things like that, they usually clarify what needs to happen with that. You need to communicate that. Always best to call in the morning, make sure that the office staff knows what the situation is. Another one that schools in the conference are highlighting, because all of us have had a little situation with this one, is the participation in out of school athletics. So AAU, club, things like that happen during the season of the school year. So there are some times when, I know volleyball knows that you have kids that play club volleyball in the winter and still maybe try to participate in a winter sport. So, gymnastics, it can be basketball, in other schools, or swimming, or whatever. So first of all, the coaches need to know that you are doing that. And obviously, coaches and teams expect you to put your school team first over your practices for your club team. All right? And that's fine. It's a lot, but some people are able to do that and budget their time and take care of themselves, and we can do that. The situation that throws people is that if you're in, and this doesn't happen very much in fall or winter, but if you're in a sport, say baseball, and you're also playing in travel league baseball, that's the same sport during the same season, if that overlap. Again, the coach needs to know that there are WIA's rules that are very clear with the situation where you're allowed to play 2 games, 2 contests, and that's it. So if you play 3, and again, how do we know? All someone has to do is take a picture, take a video, send it, this person played against my kid in this, and now they're in the playoffs, and we want to turn them in. There's not a lot we can do. You really need to talk to your coaches, so this is to the athletes and the parents, if you're taking part, especially in sport or in season, that is clear, so that you don't cause yourself problems, but more importantly, when you're in a team sport, you cause an ineligible player situation for your team. Because if that would happen and take place after the game has been played, that can be a really ugly ending. So again, if you don't understand the writing, or you don't look at the WIA website on it, just reach out to me, or reach out to your coaches, because they will help you understand it. Don't wait till it becomes an issue. All right, remember, it's a privilege to be able to take part in athletics and activities. We want to uphold the expectations at all times, as Mr. Sanders had talked about. Please review the sportsmanship code section in the handbook. We will review this with our student body when school begins in a month or so. Everybody needs reminders, and every school has different situations, but the idea is it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a positive environment. All right? The WIA keeps reminding us that we are lacking in officials because of some of the verbal abuse and sometimes it's physical abuse that takes place in athletic events at high schools across the state, across the country. And we're losing bodies to be able to run our activities. But beyond that, we just need to do better. And I would like to say we've done pretty well here in the city, but we could probably still do better. Right? And as I mentioned before, if what's going to come out of your mouth, whether you're a high school student or a parent or a grandparent, if it's not going to be something that somebody next to you would want to hear, then just keep your mouth shut. Or don't come. I mean, it's supposed to be enjoyable. That's what we want to do. We love to pack the stands. We love to do what we do. And the last event we had this year was the state championship game up in Appleton with our baseball team. And that was fun. And yeah, because the outcome was great. But the idea behind it, that's what it's supposed to feel like all the time, even during the rough times. After our meeting today here, when I'm done and a couple other people speak, football and volleyball are going to have a quick parent-athlete powwow. Football will stay here in the gym with Coach Cobb, and volleyball, we'll go to air conditioning in the library. And just run through a couple of things there. Again, you have responsibilities to take care of. That's paperwork and preparation to be prepared for the 22-23 athletic season. You also have responsibilities as a student to prepare for, even though that doesn't quite start as soon as our practices do. Be prepared, be ready to go. Don't be the person who shows up on the first day and when the list comes down for practice and it's highlighted that you can't participate because you're missing your physical form or you didn't pay for this fee. All right, those things have to happen. All right, the rest of it we figure out together, but make sure that athletes are making good choices as you prepare for this year. All right, next up I'm going to introduce Michelle Wooden, who is our athletic trainer, who took over for Tracy Steffen last year. She put in a few months at the end of the year, and she's going to talk about some athletic training things as well as some baseline concussion testing protocols.
Okay, for those of you that I did not get to meet or did not introduce myself to last spring, I'm Michelle, I'm the athletic trainer, took over for Tracy. So I do cover QC and Shelter. I try to get to full school. I get full schools every day for about 2 hours-ish. So for say 1 week, I'll be here first from 3 to 5 p.m. and then I'll go to the next school from 5 to 7. Depending on the weeks and activities that are going on at both places, they might switch. I'm supposed to be every week where I'm late 1 week, early 1 week, but depending on the events at both schools, that might just change. For injuries wise, come to me, come talk to me. I want you guys to don't be scared. Tell me your injuries. Come to me for support, whatever you guys need. Parents, don't be scared to mention something if your athlete has hurt. If they has not said anything to me about an injury, don't be afraid to tell me about it. It's better that I know. And then concussion baseline. For those football and volleyball athletes, I have sent out an email today from me that you should have received an email from at-home-test@impact.com this afternoon. This is just a concussion baseline test that needs to be completed before volleyball and football start. Football athletes will need to have it completed by this Friday, the 29th, and volleyball, I would like to be completed by Tuesday, August 11th. All freshmen through seniors need to have it completed since this is a whole new thing going on for me. I need to know everyone's face on it. For those of you to complete this test, you need a computer and a laptop. This cannot be completed on your phone. If you have a large iPad, that can be completed on that as well, but it cannot be any. This is a timed session, so it takes about a half hour to 45 minutes, and make sure that you have all other tabs closed and that you are taking it seriously. This is also something that is paid for, so you want to take it seriously so you don't have to pay for the more tests to be taken. If you do not have a computer or a laptop, you need to come talk to me sometime so we can set the time for you to be able to take that test. And then just to reiterate, athletes that get a concussion must complete our self-help post-concussion protocol. Even if you are cleared by a doctor, it's just one of our things that is required in our contract that is completed by excellence.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Yes, thank you. So one thing, and we're trying to figure this out today. So if you were in the middle school last year, or obviously in high school, you have your email, hopefully you know your login and all that stuff. That's where that should be. All right, that impact, we say impact.org? Impact.com. Impact.com. So that is, the information's right there, and you should have that, and if for some reason you don't see it, and are they able to email you back, or are you?
They can email me back through my email, not through text.
Okay. So you can reach out to Michelle Wood at QCity.K12 and say, hey, I don't see it, and she can check. All right, this is different than what we've done in the past, and if you were listening, everybody's doing this. So usually it's freshmen and juniors, it's freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, because they have to kind of start over, because they went away from the actual baseline test on the computer. So get that done. If it's not done, she'll probably find a way to remind you. For those students who are new to our district and or from St. Rose, Holy Ghost, you probably don't have access to your emails yet, and you will be receiving something from will it come from Burkett or will it come? Okay. Tina Burkett, who will be setting up accounts for you, will get your parents an email that will give them information on how to get your email set up for your login. So you're going to have 2 steps. You need to get that first. So you're not probably going to see anything from Michelle just yet, but we'll make sure that we get to you, and Mrs. Burkett said that should be happening shortly. You should be getting emails in the next few days. All right, and she does know that there is that deadline that we talked about. So again, any questions on that, reach out to school. We'll be able to cover that. But again, all athletes, freshmen through seniors, you are taking a baseline assessment. All right, do the best job you can. And sometimes I think people do worse and they're fine. So it's not a test that you're being graded on. It's going to be fun. But make sure you pay attention and don't just hit C. It's not the ACD. Okay, next up. He's been with us 10 years in the Booster Club and retired 3 times. But Scott Wright is still going to come and visit with y'all tonight.
The goal of the Booster Club is to raise money over and above what the school budget can afford. I can tell you we're pretty proud that in the last handful of years, we have raised and spent in excess of $300,000 for our athletic facilities and improvements here in the city. And we have made a point to make sure that we actually have donated something to every single sport that we have here in the city. Kind of give you an idea of a couple of highlights that we have. We went from what I think was the worst baseball field to the best baseball field in this fall. Spent in excess of $80,000 on a baseball field. If you haven't seen our new track and field shot put and discus area, we spent in excess of $60,000 on that, and we have a new and improved shed down there to keep track or keep safe our equipment inside there. We put $10,000 into a scholarship trust fund to make sure that we have a scholarship for the Booster Club for life. Again, we bought iPads for every single one of the coaches up here to link with Huddle to make sure that they can do the best job that they can. And that's just the beginning of what the Booster Club has raised money for in the last couple, 3 years. It's critically important, though, how we raise those funds. One of the big areas is through concession stands. We're in charge of all the concession stands at the varsity level in our district. So you as a parent, I would ask that you contribute. This is my 10th year. It should not be this hard, folks. It's probably the biggest headache that we have in the Booster Club is trying to get help for concessions. If all of you pitch in to 1 or 2 concession stands a year, it goes smoothly. So what we're doing this year, sign up for the football game. We have 5 football games. You can help with concessions. Kristen Miller, it will be around. She brings her hand there. There's a Google Doc that will be sent out by Pam to sign up for concessions for football. If you're at volleyball or basketball, for girls and boys basketball, the coaches will be assigning a parent for that to be in charge, and you will be in charge of concessions for your sport. So volleyball parents, you're in charge of the concessions for all the volleyball games. So there will be a sign up for that, and each one of the coaches will talk to you about how that operates. So we're going to try that this year and see how it goes. Your Booster Club board again for this year. Kristen Miller is our concession stand coordinator. Brian Lucy is our treasurer. Our vice president is Brian Coulthard. My wife Connie is our secretary, and I am your president for another year. If you'd like to join the Booster Club, we meet once a month, the first Wednesday of every month at 6:30. Meetings are about an hour long, so if you could join us, that would be great. If you would like to get on the email list, we change up those meetings once in a while. Just let me or one of the Booster Club
please, let's help the Booster Club accomplish what they want, which is to make our experiences as positive as they can be. Like he said, we'll be touching base with each team or each program with parents to try to help with those concession stands. And we have enough people involved in athletics that we really shouldn't have too much trouble having a parent or two help out from that family, once or twice during the year. I mean, I know everybody thinks, geez, well, I don't really have time to do that, but we have to stop and think, do we like the things that our kids and our athletes get to experience, like charter buses and things like that, to faraway places, sometimes twice, right, Coach Matthews? Right, those are the things that we benefit from. Right, those are the things that not all schools get. So we're asking for a couple. If you have a 3-sport athlete, you might do concessions maybe 4 times a year. All right, I don't think that's too bad. It's totally up to you on how you figure it out. But please, I guess at the very least, because you had some trouble with this in the past, you can't just not show up, everybody. You gotta let somebody know. We had to shut the concession stand down a couple times last year in the winter. We didn't have people there to do it. All right, and we want to sell popcorn, and I hate the Skittles. The Skittles need to go. But popcorn, the Skittles need to go. And the suckers need to go. One of the two are going. Please help me. All right. I don't think I broke any records, but we are at the point where we are ready to close this portion of the evening, unless anybody has any questions from the bleachers. Remember, your job now is to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're signing off on all that paperwork. Once you sign it, you're ours. All right? So if there's a question down the road that says, what do you mean this is happening? You read that, we went over it. If you have questions, you want to make sure you ask. And you like questions, that's fine, if you're not sure of something. But as everybody's already mentioned, we're right there again for 2022, 23. We're excited to start the next adventure. For some of you, this is maybe your eldest child finishing up. Congratulations, you'll never have to sit through this again. Well, Mr. Sanders said that, but he can be back. If this is your first experience at the high school, because your freshman's your eldest child, we're here for you. It'll be okay. All right? It'll be okay. It's a good place to be. So very excited, athletes, be ready to go. We've got games coming up here. It's time to play. And parents and spectators, we appreciate your support. I'm going to run through real quick who our coaches are here, just so everybody has a face to name. There are different people sitting here. Coach Betty, you still with me? Boys basketball. Coach Betty, football. Coach Tim Matthews, second field boys and girls. Coach Craig Nair, wrestling. Mary Scott, Paul Reynolds, cross country, boys and girls. Michelle. Jason, Clint, sorry. That blue shirt is kind of annoying. Clint Nevins is our new girls golf coach for the tryout. So Clint is also a basketball coach at Southwestern, and he's going to take over the ball. Thank you, Clint. Jason Durden.